Brenda is speaking. Should she be in reserve?
But whenever Smith comes in, yeah,
Okay.
she is welcome to sit on the edge of that. Yes.
So you're pretty much a mix. Yeah. I didn't hear it. Looks like put on video. Where are you guys going to sit?
Good afternoon. there's the cue. The first piece I have for you is to invite you to turn your phones on airplane mode or off for our service, please. I'm Reverend Dr. Keith Cox, and welcome to the memorial service, the celebration of life for our beloved Sherry Robb. We'd like to begin with a poem titled "Death is Like the End of a Beautiful Song" by Sherry Robb. A person brings into our life a certain sound like no other sound we've heard before. We're engaged in the melody, tone, and rhythm. We are emancipated from the day-to-day for one brief moment in time. Then the song ends, and the depth of silence left behind leaves a longing in our heart, a ringing in our ears, and a wish for one more note. Today we get to have that one more note for our beloved Sherry, and to share together our remembrances and our memories and to celebrate her life. For friends, family members, and loved ones, I remind you on this June afternoon as we gather in this really beautiful and sacred and spiritual environment to know with me that it is at this time, on this afternoon, that we honor Sherry Robb, just as we received her in life. I love looking at the smile of her on this day, on her birthday, if you will, because it represents the joy and the light and the radiance that she not only lived with and expressed while she was on this planet, but is now living in each one of us. For it's in this manner today, in this process, that we celebrate her in the highest way possible, and in so doing invoke the blessing of the infinite nature of the love of God, and thus we are all blessed and may find peace. So today, as we acknowledge the death of the human form, we shall each have the opportunity to embrace and awaken to know it as a horizon, over which we journey from one life into another, a resurrection, a transformation of spirit, if you will. We're here on this day and in this moment of memorializing, whereby we may lovingly and compassionately and respectfully release what was and be open to embrace what shall be. So I ask each of you here today to affirm with me this spiritual truth, that life is eternal, doesn't end, it only changes shape. And by opening our minds and our hearts, and by choosing love as our way, we express and experience more and more and more of the life divine that is ours to live, while we have the great honor to keep walking Mother Earth. As I pulled in here today and looked down at the dates of Sherry's departure, it caught me by surprise and then not, to realize that she left on Valentine's Day. Right? For Sherry was, and I choose to believe still is, the essence of love. She certainly radiated that love in human form. In the teachings of the Science of Mind, which she was a community member of our church, the Center for Spiritual Living in Los Angeles, Dr. Ernest Holmes defines love as the self-givingness of spirit, whose desire is to create more of itself, and it can do that only out of itself, and that itself is you and it's me, and it was for sure Sherry Robb. She was, and I continue to believe that whatever plane of action she's expressing on, she's continuing herself to express this love, this boundless amount of love and joy that is the energy of the divine. I loved Sherry Robb, and she loved me, and she loved each of you. Her infinite support of my ministry was boundless. She was forever walking in the door with someone new, probably one of you that she had dragged in at some point, or sending out my daily texts. Many of you said that you get them as a chain of a chain of a chain, my new thought text for the day. They're pretty good, right? I'll speak to you later on how to sign up for them. But one of the things I was so clear on Sherry Robb in the latter parts of her life, when I got to know her, is that she was an agent of change. For many of you, she may have been a literary agent or a talent agent, but she was truly an agent of change. On one of my last visits with her, the facility on 3rd Street, when I went to visit her and take her some soup and hang out with her, she was getting ready to go for dialysis. She was directing the show. She had them doing her hair, fixing her clothes, making sure the soup went to the right place, getting her glasses ready. She was absolutely clear that life is about show business, baby. It's about show business. And she knew it. She knew how to direct it. It was an awareness that she had. It was all about awareness. So today, as we've gathered together purposefully and consciously and lovingly and respectfully to celebrate our dear Sherry and her awareness, I invite each of us to be willing to make a commitment to open ourselves to our awareness. We are certainly acknowledging the transition of her physical life from this plane to the next. Her body was definitely tired. The last time I saw her in Cedar, she was ready to go. She had announced to her loved ones it was time for her to leave. And so inasmuch as we may have emotional pain, that she's no longer with us here walking this earth, we get to honor and celebrate her for having the ability in the end to make the choice to know when it was time to move to the next dimension. For all of us, our bodies will come to a point where they no longer serve us well. And I honor and hope and wish for each of us that we have the ability through our awareness to make the decision to honor that when it happens. Benjamin Franklin once said this: we are spirits, that bodies should be lent us, where they can afford us pleasure, assist us in acquiring knowledge, or in doing good to our fellow creatures. And that is a kind and benevolent act of God. And they become unfit for these purposes and afford us pain instead of pleasure. Instead of an aid, become an encumbrance and answer none of the intentions for which they were given. It's equally kind and benevolent that a way is provided by which we may get rid. Death is that way. Death is like a spirit slipping off of an old shoe of a body that has been used up in its usefulness so that it may take on another. Sherry's nephew and I were chatting earlier about our perception of what it means when we leave this earth. I was sharing with him at one point in my life that I was having a very difficult time in acknowledging a beloved friend of mine who had passed on. And there were a group of us together celebrating her life. And one of our peers, all ministers, of course, so very heady, said to me that as our friend was passing, she said to her, I believe that what we know for sure is that we came into this physical expression through the birth. We all did that. We all share that. And since we're mental beings, it's only logical to think that when we go to the next dimension, we also go through a birth canal. I believe that Sherry's been through that birth canal. And that her circle on this plane of action is complete. But the adventure that's the next for hers is one that's exciting and wonderful. Dr. Ernest Holmes, a renowned historic metaphysical teacher, wrote this about the truth of dimensions unfolding. The circle of love is complete. It comprehends all, includes all, and binds us all together with cords of everlasting unity. I cannot depart from its presence, nor wander from its care. My love is complete within me. The love of God binds me to itself and will not let me go. I shall make a home for you, oh my wonderful love. And we shall journey through this life, hand in hand, heart to heart. And I shall sit in your presence and learn the wonderful things you will tell me. For you, my dear child, are the divine, and the circle is complete. Thank you.
That was a beautiful, not sort of presentation as you put it. And I think the thing that leaves me, the thing that I'm reflecting on about that is the message of togetherness and more importantly, moving forward. You know, and I feel like that's what my Aunt Sherry was. She was someone that fearlessly moved forward, you know, despite obstacles, despite everything, she fought for what she wanted. And I wrote a little something just so I don't get too off track, but you know, I just want to thank everyone for being here. You know, to celebrate my beloved Aunt Sherry. She, you know, it just means a lot. And I want to thank Mark, I want to thank Susan, I want to thank CJ, and I want to thank everybody who was there for her. You know, it was comforting to, you know, see other people that really loved and cared for her. You know, just knowing that she wasn't alone. You know, just knowing that like she touched so many people's lives, and like I haven't known most of you for long, but it just means a lot being here. You know, just in a circle of people that, you know, cared about Sherry and like were affected by her in some way, you know. And just again, thank you, especially Susan and everyone involved with planning the memorial. Like, thank you for. Sorry, totally got off track. But yeah, I've been hearing a lot of different stories just in the small reception about how Sherry, you know, affected each of your lives, you know, in different ways, big and small, you know, clients, family, friends, somewhere in between, you know, like friends from Boston, friends from all over the place, you know. It's just really nice. So again, thank you. And then, you know, that's gonna be the theme of my speech. I'm just grateful. And yeah, like everyone here was affected by Sherry's infectious charisma, her wit. She was very funny. Like actually, she was very funny. She was very smart. You know, I wish I could have gotten to know her even more. You know, I wish we had more time. But again, part of moving forward is to not, you know, be bogged down by that regret. You know, be bogged down by those things and just keep moving forward, because that's, I think, the best way I can honor by living my life fearlessly as she did. So sorry, I totally went off track. So my sisters and I, despite growing up really far away down in, you know, Mexico, every birthday, every special occasion, we could count on, you know, a thoughtful card and a nice little gift for us, you know, from our aunt. So she would always show us we were on her mind, you know. I think that's part of the beauty of Sherry and like her personality. Once she decided she loved someone, once she decided she cared for someone, she was too stubborn to change her mind about that. That's just one of the best things about her, really. And yeah, even in the chaotic and grief-stricken years after, you know, my dad, her brother passed, you know, that despite moving back and forth, left and right, up and down, like our life was a mess, but we still stayed in touch. And Sherry, you know, she reached out and made sure we were always connected, like, you know, and that's a wonderful thing, because it's easier now than ever to drift apart and, you know, not and give up those bonds. But Sherry, like, she always fought for her family. She always fought for, you know, what it means to be family. I appreciate that. So yeah, I'm proud that my aunt was just someone who always fought for her dreams, you know, for the people she believed in. And, you know, all the stories I've heard that really bring that into focus, you know, all these different people. I was fortunate enough to end up living in LA during her final years. And that was such a gift because I feel like I got to know her again, you know, like it's one thing growing up far away, and then it's another like being able to like hang out and just meet each other as adults and like have that understanding and like just know what we've been through. It almost felt like we had both survived to see like the end of something, the end of a chapter in our lives. When we were meeting, they're just kind of like reminiscing. Again, I wish I would have had more time to get to know her even better. But I'm grateful for what we had and what we have. I think it's almost a moot point to regret those things, and I just want to embrace the relationship we have, the bond that we have, as it is, as it was, and as it always will be. So Sherry, during our conversations, we would talk a lot about family, right? Like a lot of the traditions of the Robs. And again, we grew up in a broken family. Like my dad passed, it was very chaotic. So her sharing like, oh yeah, we would make Mickey Mouse pancakes, things like that. She retained it and wrote it down and like shared it. She told me who my grandparents were. She told me things about my dad I didn't know. She told me things about my grandparents I didn't know. So in a way, they lived on through her. And I would say that in the same sense, Sherry lives on in each of us here. That little bit, those memories, those intentions, those feelings, they'll keep going, And back to what the Reverend was mentioning about it not being the end, also, yes, in a spiritual sense, it's not the end, but also like in the physical world, it's not the end, because people, they never die if you remember them, if you cherish them, if they still make you laugh, And I think that's just such a wonderful thing. So, thanks for allowing her and caring for her. And I will say, like, just as she was a link to my family's past, I would say that in the same way, I'm a link to her future, to the future, Her friends are a link to the future. The people she touched are a link to the future. And that makes me feel a certain peace. But yeah, before I ramble on too long, my aunt, Sherry, was and always will be my cool, glamorous aunt in Los Angeles. Yeah, just thanks for being here, folks. Thank you.
So this beautiful shawl that I wear was from Sherry, a gift. And she was my stylist, my cheerleader, my manager. And one of my happiest last memories of her was that I could actually bring her to the same place you mentioned on 3rd Street, which I thought was a good place for her. It was Hollywood, it was glamorous, West Hollywood, close to Beverly Hills. And so I brought her a dish of spaghetti. And I can just remember her eating it so joyfully because she didn't like the food she was getting, but finally something she liked, and I could have been more happy. And we talked and we talked and we talked. It was so lovely. That's one of my dear memories that I'll always cherish. Sherry and spaghetti. Another day goes by, not a single day, but you're somewhere a part of my life, and it looks like you'll stay as the days go by. I keep thinking, when does it end? Where's the day just keep on thinking and sweating and cursing and crying and reaching and healing and waking and dying. But no, not a day goes by, not a blessed day. But you're still somewhere, a part of my life, and you won't go away. So there's hell to pay. But until I die, I want day after day after day after day after day after day after day. Every day. My children, I think you would be proud. We're self-tapes, yes. So there's hell to pay. But until I want day after day after day after day after day after day after day till the days go by, till the days go by, till the days go by. Till the day goes by.
Well, that was beautiful. And when she shall die, take her and cut her out in little stars, and she will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night. Romeo and Juliet. Thank you all for joining us in this celebration of life for Sherry Robb, one of the kindest and loving souls you will ever meet. You know, they say there are 3 deaths. The first is when the body ceases to function. The second is when the body is consigned to the grave. The third is that moment sometime in the future when your name is spoken for the very last time. We will all face this fate, but what matters after death, transition to spirit, is what impact and legacy you have left on the living. And for Sherry Robb, the legacy she left is love, unconditional love. And yes, Sherry helped so many artists throughout the years with their careers, and we are eternally grateful for how she helped us pursue our dreams. We could spend the entire day talking about her accomplishments. But what I would like to touch upon is something that you will not see on her long and impressive resume, and that is her living example of how to truly love and support people you care about with no limits. This legacy of love is something so rare and special that it has changed who I am, not just as an artist, but as a human being and what kind of person I want to be in the world. Like all of us here, we felt engulfed by her love, her unconditional love, and her never-ending support. She truly believed in us, and you could feel it. This is her true lesson to us all and her legacy. The true power and beauty of Sherry was this unconditional love and limitless support, her loyalty to us, her belief in us. This is who I want to be in the world. I want to be to others the kind of person Sherry was to us. Someone who made you feel like everything was going to be okay because she was always going to be in your corner no matter what. Someone who made you realize that no matter how many times you failed, she was always going to be there for you. Can you imagine what the world would be like if we could follow her example and love each other like she loved us? Well, let's talk about her spirit. I have been to 40 countries and 4 war zones. I have literally seen the best and worst of humanity. I have seen pure evil. I have witnessed genocide. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, I have known people who gave their lives to save others. So, I think I may be qualified to state that Sherry Robb was, in fact, the best of us. Hands down, the best example of humanity. Another bit of Shakespeare verse from All's Well That Ends Well also encapsulates Sherry's spirit. Love all, trust a few, do wrong to none. Love all. Sherry just wanted to spread love in the world. Trust a few. Oh, she could sniff out disingenuous people. Do wrong to none. Sherry didn't have a mean bone in her body. To use an actor term, do we have any actors in here? Just a few. Her super objective in life was simply to love those around her and make our lives exciting, beautiful, and fulfilling. As a manager, she was in the business of making our dreams come true. But if you came into her orbit, you learned that ultimately she was the living embodiment of love. And you would never be the same person because of it. To close, I will use this one last quote from one of Shakespeare's most famous monologues. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. Well, Sherry played her role, and she was clearly one of the main characters in this grand production of life. To the woman who gave us all unending love, Sherry, we give you unending gratitude. Thank you.
I don't really know exactly what I'm going to say, but the one thing about Sherry, she made me feel like the most important person. And I know that we're all kind of saying, well, yeah, all of her accomplishments in her resume, there's bigger and more important things, but I keep learning things about that resume, about those accomplishments that blow my mind. I was a songwriter at Motown back in the 1980s and collaborated with his mother actually started Motown. And he and I, all these years later, wrote a TV show based on his memories as a 4-year-old child growing up in Pittsville. And Cliff's mother had written a book because she was very unsung in history. And we were just racking our brains, where are we gonna find an agent? Where are we gonna find somebody? And it was like just this magical thing, like, well, it's the show. Flip the book. So this is Sherry Robb. It's just hard. And I mean, we all know, you don't just go get a literary agent. It doesn't just happen. And we just reached out and called her, and she wanted to meet with us. And we played her our sizzle reel, and we spent $3,000. She said, wow, I know you spent $50,000. She immediately signed us. And I could echo all of the same things that everybody said about how she treated you once you were in her circle, once she believed in you. But the thing about Sherry that I love the most was this spirit of not letting her physical limitations stop her from these huge, huge dreams. I remember I called her sometime in the last year. I said, Sherry, how are you? She said, I'm in the hospital. I died yesterday. But I got 5 pills. They're being funded. That was Sherry. That was Sherry. She did not. Of course, she cared that her body was old and breaking down. But let's remember who Sherry, I'm not going to say was, who Sherry is. And I know it might be risky to tell a spiritual story, but I'm going to tell you one of the last experiences I had of Sherry. And that is my husband and I were fortunate enough to find out that she was in the hospital. We were in her very last days, and we were driving up to the hospital. That's when we were driving. We were talking about other things, and then all of a sudden, I felt Sherry like in the sky. Wow! Oh my gosh! I'm just thinking about how beautiful and wonderful Sherry is, and it was this feeling so much freedom. I felt it in this power. So we parked the car, we walked into the hospital room. Her body was still alive. Her body was alive. She wasn't there. So she said goodbyes to her physical body. So I was filled with that joy, that feeling of joy and freedom. And so everybody has their own reality and their own influence. And I'm certainly not here to impose mine on anybody. But that was so real to me, so deep inside, viscerally real to me, that I know Sherry hasn't left us. I know that she's going to go on, and I know that those who carry on her legacy, such as Mark and others, I know that all of the things that she envisioned, that maybe she didn't quite win her Oscar yet, but I know it's still gonna happen. That's basically what I have to say to Sherry.
I should have done that. I felt like I was going to need to explain why I was singing this song, but it's obvious. So I'm trying not to cry because I can't cry and sing at the same time. So I'll try to save it for later. Save it for later. Okay. Okay. Get through this, okay? You can do it. Okay.
Don't be afraid. At the end of the story is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of our love.
Hi. This is, I think, the most beautiful memorial I think I've probably ever been to in my entire life. And I feel Sherry's presence so strong here today, and I hope I get through this. Sherry, I worked in literary with Sherry for the last 11 years. If you're a writer in this room, I've read almost everything you've ever written. If you're an actor, an actress in this room, I have sat for hours going through all of your everything. She knew you very intimately. She knew what you needed to do next, what was good, what you needed to get rid of, and everything else. And she was my mentor and my friend. Let it out. I wrote something good. We're trying to get personal, so I'm going to do that. In my room hangs a quote by Calamity Jane. If a girl wants to be a legend, she should go ahead and be one. I smile whenever I read that because in my world, Sherry Robb is a true legend. and somewhat of a Calamity Jane, with some Hollywood glams sprinkled in all over and around it. Sherry was also a sharpshooter, a frontierswoman, a humanitarian, and a storyteller. And like Jane, she trailblazed through her life during highly charged political times in the heart of Boston and Los Angeles. I believe it was her ability to fearlessly engage with whomever she needed to, no matter what room she was in. She also had a keen sense for wielding creative power and partnerships. With this, she garnered great success as an educator, a community organizer, a businesswoman, and a prolific literary and talent agent. I imagine that, like Jane, she also sometimes wore some pants, a belt, and some big girl boots to get the job done. Sherry's superpower was her ability to listen. When she spoke, she was intentional, direct, and thoughtful. These are qualities that made her shine as a manager, and qualities I aspire to. Calamity Jane also said, every day takes figuring out all over again how to bleeping live. I say bleeping because although Sherry could throw an F-bomb down when she was passionate about something, she didn't like it in writing. She didn't feel it was necessary to tell a story. When I met Sherry, I was a 40-something divorced mother of four who had already owned a successful business and I worked professionally in entertainment for decades, and I was going after a master's degree to pursue my passion to write and produce stories that support women. Needing to fulfill an internship at that age, requirement for a master's degree, I landed in Sherry's offices in MacArthur Park, a lively, bright space sitting in the middle of a homeless encampment run by interns and a small army of cats. Stray cats. I had never seen anything like it. It was a place I wanted to be, though, run by a woman I wanted to know more about. Sherry greeted me. She literally came up to the front, greeted me with warmth and vibrancy, paying only little attention to the fact that I was at least twice the age of anyone in the room. I had been delivered into the hands of an accomplished woman who not only had a master's in social work, but also had been active in her humanitarian efforts. While in her professorship at Tufts University and the University of Massachusetts, Sherry pioneered several programs which supported women by creating a child care program for those re-entering college. She was instrumental in creating prison release programs. She created a community tutoring program to help educate children and created a program that offered resources to Vietnam vets returning to their communities. All things I am passionate about. I have landed on the stoop of a woman who had chosen not to marry, and I'm going to sneak in the parenthetical here. This may have been Sherry's smartest choice. And who had no children of her own, but who cared deeply about women, children, and their communities. I landed on the stoop of a woman who devoted her life to helping people with the resources needed to rise to their dreams. Sherry knew that in order to grow a garden must be watered and tended to. She knew that in order for creativity to flourish, it required a safe space, an open heart, daily encouragement, and unwavering loyalty. Sherry was all of this for me, and I'm certain she does these things for many, all in this room. Finally, Calamity Jane said, it was still between Martha, her birth name, and Jane, between the girl I was and who I wanted to be. Sherry was good at helping to guide those who she brought into her world towards their desired realized self, because she was also still in the process of realizing her own dreams. It was her desire to produce films that speak to the heart of things she was passionate about, often giving me scripts to read that involved women overcoming some evil force. She accomplished this with The Memory of My Heart, co-produced with Mark Martinez. I was grateful to have been a part of her debut film. Sherry was so excited and proud and grateful for the experience. I had long been her desire to use her talent, her talent, all of you, in her produced films, and she accomplished that dream. Well, Sherry, I'm here today to say we did it again. This past week, Mark and I completed a short about an angel who helps a birdie with a broken spirit to fly. It dawned on me the day after we finished post that I am that wounded birdie. You helped to find her wings again. It was confirmed that you are my angel, and when I received a text on my phone, this did happen. Yes, a random text from 7 years ago popped up on my phone, and within minutes of reading it, it disappeared. You were thinking of me. You were thanking me for helping you move out of your beloved MacArthur Park address over to your new Wilshire office. You sent me pictures of it in place, with a teddy bear meme sending kisses out. I'm sure you all got that too. The meme, somewhat childish, was exactly what my dad, who is my other angel, used to give me. Little stuffed teddy bears with hearts patched on where a heart belongs. It was then that I realized that you are my angel mom, and this is who you will always be to me, to us. Fly high, Sherry.
For everyone that was there for Sherry during the difficult last days. And heartfelt thank you to Susan Trent for putting all of this together. I'd like to share some memories that I had with Sherry, but this is a family show. It's still surreal to say her name in the past tense. Sherry wasn't just my producing partner, she was my closest collaborator. My friend, my co-conspirator in this wild industry, and truthfully, one of the most remarkable people I've ever known. I met Sherry in 2018 when Rita Michelle introduced us. And Rita, wherever you are, I hope you're watching on Zoom. Thank you, because that introduction changed the course of my life. Sherry was looking for a director for a film called Sideboard, written by roster mates Mark Daniels and Sarah Sapinski. And we clicked immediately. We talked about story structure, character arcs, which one of the actors was a roster to cast, and it felt like we'd known each other for years. And that was the beginning of something that I never expected. We worked together like we shared a brain. We'd walk into networking events, we would read the room, and then we would tag team our way through conversations with producers, financiers, and we just had this uncanny ability to finish each other's sentences. And just know when to just look at each other, pass the baton back and forth while we worked, while we worked out there trying to make things happen for what Sherry believed was her mission. And we trusted each other. And in this business, that's rare. Soon we were developing a full slate of films. We had over 10 projects lined up, and in 2020, we co-founded Rob Squad Film Company right before the world shut down. But even quarantine couldn't stop us, because we used that time to study the distribution game and build relationships. Sherry never sat still.
And so in 2022, we went into production on The Memory of My Heart, a film that brought her lifelong dream to life, casting her own talent roster in in-house productions. That was everything to her. And I'll never forget how proud and how happy she was to see that dream come true. That was Sherry. Proud, fierce, deeply loyal, and always thinking about other people. And she never stopped dreaming. Even in her final months, as her health declined, she was still texting me, still brainstorming, still planning, and still submitting talent to big films. She had a million things she wanted to do. She couldn't be stopped. And one of the last things she said to me was, "I wish I had met you 20 years ago." I think about that a lot. And even though Sherry may be gone, her legacy is very much alive. And I made her a promise I intend to keep. With Susan Brennan by my side, we're carrying this vision forward through Rob One, our new parent company, overseeing the Rob Company, Rob Squad Film Company, a distribution arm, and an upcoming record label. We're not just keeping the doors open, we're building something bigger for Sherry and for everyone who believed in her. To the actors, writers, and creatives here today, we're not done. We're going to keep making films. We're going to keep telling stories that matter. We're going to make space for the kind of talent Sherry loved, the bold, the raw, the underdogs with something to say. Sherry lit the fire, now we carry it. Thank you, Sherry, for believing in us and in me. I'll never stop fighting for what we stood for. She believed in us, and it's time for us to believe in ourselves. Let's make it proud.
In all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. That small cafe, across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut tree, the wishing well, and see in every summer's day, in everything that's light and gay, I'll always think of you. I'll find you. I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. That's no cafe. yourself, not just the tree. Go wishing well, and I see you in every summer's day. That's night and day. I'll always speak of you the way I'll find you in the morning sun. I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
So I invite you all just to take a deep breath. Exhale, cherish this very moment. Let's just reflect on all that's been said. I want to take a moment and have us acknowledge those that are watching on Zoom. You know that even though you may not be here with us physically in the room, energetically we feel you. We honor you and appreciate you. And you're so right. The girl could throw down some memes and some emojis, right? My phone goes, and I'm like, what the hell? Sherry Robb in the middle of the night, right? Just setting it free. And I always thought I was special, and I was, just like we all were, right? She was just technologically setting the world ablaze. Today's certainly been a reflection of the love that is Sherry Robb that exists by means of each one of us. And I want to thank you all for being here today, for sharing your heart, for sharing your soul, and for what I'm going to believe is a commitment that we're all making to ourselves to not only shine her light through us in life, but to continue on the legacy of being the light. Looking at the beautiful photo tribute that was done and hearing all the words, it's certainly heartbreaking. Someone that we love leaves, and as much as she was ready, we know there was also pain in the end. I want to share with you some words that comfort me when I'm in a moment such as we were all in today. When somebody dies, a cloud turns into an angel and flies up to tell God to put another flower on a pillow. A bird gives the message back to the world and sings a silent prayer that makes the rain cry. People disappear, but they never really go away. The spirits up there put the sun to bed, wake up the grass, and spin the earth in dizzy circles. Sometimes you can see them dancing in a cloud during the daytime when they're supposed to be sleeping. They paint the rainbows and also the sunsets and make the waves splash and tug at the tide. They toss shooting stars and listen to wishes. And when they sing wind songs, they whisper to us, don't listen too much. The view is nice, and I'm doing just fine. What we're all confronted with each and every moment in life is choice. To choose whether to be the love that we now know and know that we know is in our heart and our soul and our being, and that is waiting within us to be expressed in a new way. In our philosophy, faith, and way of life, known as the science of mind, we're taught that all that we have is the moment of now. And then the moment of now. And then the moment of now. And imbued and embedded with that moment is our ability to choose. Sherry's heard me use this quote many, many times, and it would make her proud to know that I'm saying it here. It's one of my favorite metaphysical quotes of all times. It's by the great Gary Zukav in the book, The Seat of the Soul. And I believe this is instruction for each of us today, as well as an invitation. Choice is the engine of evolution. If you choose unconsciously, you will evolve unconsciously. If you choose consciously, you will evolve consciously. He goes on to write, choosing to evolve consciously is much better than unconsciously, and most often far less painful. Trust me, been there, done that, he writes. And then he goes on to tell us this most important piece of the quote. Choice is the second greatest gift we've been given, second only to the gift of life itself. Today, I invite all of us to make a decision on how we choose to use the second greatest gift, our choice. And to the best of our ability, as often as we can, choose to express through us the life of Sherry Robb as evidenced in what's been said today, and choose to be kinder, choose to be more gentle, choose to be more loving, choose to reach out to each other for support when needed, choose to lend a hand a bit easier, choose to give to each other, choose to carry on the legacy, as Mark has shared, you're going to do broader and stronger and wiser and more in depth. Choose to honor our spirits, choose to honor the spirit, choose to honor our bodies and our families, both blood, extended, biological and non-biological. So in this moment, this now moment, as we're gathered together to honor, to memorialize, and to celebrate our beloved Sherry Robb. We're each in a state in this room, whether it's online or in person, of cherishing Sherry and each other. And I invite each of us to let this moment be an imprint, a footprint on our soul, if you will. To be there for us when we may feel lost at some point, and when that shows up, to remember that deep within us, there is this light, this energy, this feeling that we've made a choice to do what it is that we're opening ourselves up to do today. And then to let that moment be the moment that carries us forward and to honor her legacy by living our lives and giving and sharing what she's given to us. I'd like to close with a poem. There's parts of this poem that you're going to hear that's going to remind you of Sherry, and it may remind you of yourself, and certainly can be an instruction and an invitation to be one layer of this poem or all of it to the best of our ability, so that when the day comes that our loved ones are sitting in a room remembering and memorializing and celebrating us, it's leading on to, as we were taught earlier, Christopher says that the day the last person may say our name, that we've left the imprint that we desire to leave. It's titled, If Not For You. And I read it as we remember our beloved Sherry. If not for you, there would be a place of emptiness in the heart of God. If not for you, all the good that you would have done would still need doing. If not for you, the spark of your ideas would not have ignited a fire in others. And if not for you, the key role you played in life's drama would remain unfulfilled. If not for you, at least one person would not have awakened to their dreams. If not for you, your triumphs could not be examples to inspire others. If not for you, Someone who needed love would not have received it. If not for you, the life would have been shortened or never have existed. If not for you, the song of life would have missed a beat. If not for you, your gifts would remain ungiven. If not for you, another might have suffered in your place. And if not for you, someone would have no path to follow. If not for you, there would be one less smile, one less laugh, one less hug. If not for you, there would be one less mystery. And if not for you, an animal, maybe a cat, might be homeless and a garden left unplanted. And if not for you, something definitely would be missing. You've always made a difference. Who you are is important every day. For you are the face, the heart, and the soul of God.
Family and friends, on behalf of Hollywood Forever, my condolences to all of you. What a privilege it has been for me just to listen to the amazing stories about this wonderful woman. So truly, my hearts go out to you, but what a blessing that you knew her in life, that you get to reflect the best of her out into the world and let her continue to inspire you. Our time is concluded here in the chapel, but we invite all of you to join us over at Sherry's niche. It has been beautifully appointed and decorated in her honor. We'll go walking in a procession very casually. If you want to catch up with us a little bit later, that's absolutely fine. You're going to be able to see exactly where we're headed. And as we walk out, you are also welcome to take one last little cup of coffee or maybe a seat on your way out. So at this time, would you like to lead us over? Shall we go first? Yes. Okay. So we'll just have everyone rise and we can follow behind Susan and Mark. And we'll make sure you all find your way over to the niche. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Yeah.
So we're not going to be able to stay for the niche. How do we come back on some future days?
Oh, sure. Here, let me.
You had mentioned the book would be available now?
Yes, it's just out there. Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much.
Common friends. Well, right now, all the protests are finding out.
Deal with the book, right? Designing.
Yeah.
How to sign it.
Just outside there on the left-hand side of the box.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, look, I just.
Yeah, because she's just.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be concluding the Zoom at this time. Thank you so much for joining us remotely. My condolences to all of you. Please take care. Thank you.